we need Jan. It would be great with one more vote there. All right. In the meantime, let's move to the next point, which is approval of the minutes of the last meeting. So the last meeting. All right.
Last meeting. Yeah,
Yep.
I'll post it in a while.
Yeah, but there's still the meetings for the minutes from the last meeting are still in the wiki and have been, so everyone's had a chance to read them.
Yeah.
All right. So Jan will come back and vote when he's available again. So let's vote on the minutes of the last meeting. Okay. All right. We have Alessandro there. And Jan, please let us know when you're back so we can fill you in. All right. Next, we have confirmation of any decisions taken in between meetings. And I don't think we have any.
Nope.
Mob, have you sent in anything? Missed?
I haven't seen you take any decisions between the meetings.
Okay, great. Then we haven't missed anything. Do we confirm those?
Yes, any decisions taken between meetings need to be confirmed at the next board meeting, so it end up in the minutes. That is why we have this point. But since there is none, we can just move ahead.
Okay, I'm just going to write no decisions.
Sorry, Sarah. Florian will come a bit later?
Yes, Florian is going to be late because of the strike among the public transport workers.
Yeah, I know. Today in Brussels there is a national strike.
Yes, exactly. So that's why he's going to be late. But let's continue. I think we might as well move forward to the written reports. And we have a written report from Bjorn.
Sorry, the idea with written reports is that they're not read or discussed. They're just added to the minutes.
Yes. But I still want to acknowledge that we have a written report from Bjorn, who is not here. You've all had a chance to read this. Let's continue. Do we have any questions? Well, I suppose since Bjorn is not here, we can't really take any questions about it. And we have Mob has also provided a report. Thank you for your summary, and it's been a privilege to work with you too. We also have a report from Florian and Alessandro. And I don't think there are anything that's there's not anything that's unclear there. So let's just continue into decisions without discussions. And we don't have anything under that point. So we move to decisions with discussions. And that brings us to the 2024 annual report. And here we have a motion that the board validates the submission of the 2024 annual report final draft, which is linked to the Discords and to the agenda of the 18th Council meeting. Now, we had an opportunity to discuss this yesterday, and we didn't get any questions. But if anyone has questions, now is the time. I interpret the silence as there being no questions. That means we can proceed to a vote.
Line
Line 139.
139.
Yes. All right. So, Jan, if you're able to vote, please do. Ah, perfect. I see you voted. Thank you very much. All right. Excellent. So we have voted for a yes here. And then we have a point 2.2, General Secretariat proposal and inclusion into the work plan. So this is already in the work plan, but we have a motion that the board validates 1, the creation of the Secretary General position, and 2, the posting of the position's regulatory text to the discourse, and 3, its addition into the 2025 work plan with a short summary in the subsection of the organization section and the whole text in the appendix. Now, there has been a lot of last-minute work with this regulatory text, and I feel like it really needs a little bit more work because there are some points of disagreement. But I do think it could be a good idea to discuss it briefly in the board meeting, because we currently have. Yes, Mob, go ahead.
No, I'm waiting for you to finish, and then I want to speak.
Okay, sure. The reason I say this is because we currently have 2 versions of this document, and we have 2 options in that case. Either we discuss it now, or we put both versions in a discourse thread and we vote on them within 24 hours. So that's my suggestion. Mob, go ahead.
Well, I have a slightly different suggestion. For me, if it's not ready, the thing that makes most sense is to take it out of the decision and then let the next board decide on the final thingy. If you look at this board could decide on the creation of Secretary General position and include it into the work plan with a short summary in the subsection of the organization, and then skip the whole text. You don't need the whole text in the work plan, and you don't need to decide on the regulatory text, whatever that is now. You can leave that to the next board. It will just delay them opening the position mildly. And then you have plenty of time to discuss it on discourse. And the next board, who will be the one making the final decision anyways, get actually to be the one deciding on it.
Okay. That's a perfectly good suggestion, but it will mean that we need to change the motion here.
Yep, just give me 1 second.
Sorry, since we don't know if everyone is okay with my changes, I'm writing them as a separate line, and then you can discuss it, and then you can see if you want to vote between the 2.
Yeah, that would be awesome if you can do it.
Thank you.
I can't propose it, so unless someone in the board proposes it, it will not be an option for you to vote on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. And it's already in the 2025 work plan. We can extend the organization section a little bit. After all, it's
So-
already been described in the organization section of the work plan.
So we don't have a work plan yet because that's next on the agenda. So if we say no to this, we would have to take it out of the work plan. But I've changed it in such a way that I think it fits with what is currently in the work plan. So on line 149 is now potential second motion that any of you could lift as a motion if you think it's a good idea.
Yeah, and this is on line 149. I would actually like to add to that that the next board will define the position's regulatory text.
I would suggest that you change that to the board encourage the next board to define it, because you can't decide what the next board will do. It's up to them.
Yeah, fair point. The board recommends the 10th board to define the position's regulatory text.
And then I would add to that before opening it up for applicants, so that they know that they should do it at the beginning and not at a year from now.
All right. So you can read this new proposal or suggested proposal on row 152.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone want to propose this?
For me, the second motion is perfectly fine. We could even remove the first one, no? So we can vote directly on the second one, or we can choose.
I think we should vote on. I think we need to vote on both of them, right? We need to vote no to the first one and yes to the second one.
I think it's
no, you don't. You can ask, does anyone propose alternative 1? And if no one proposes alternative 1, we can remove it.
Yeah, that's my plan.
All right. So, does anyone propose alternative 1? I interpret the silence as a no. That means we eliminate the first one and that we're voting on the second one. So that means it is time to vote since it has been proposed by Alessandro.
Line 157, right?
Yes, 157.
Can you vote, Jan, or you want us to vote for you? You can. Great.
All right. Thank you very much, Jan. So that has been voted on. And that means it's time to continue to the work plan. So the motion is to validate the submission of the 2025 work plan final draft, which is linked here and needs to be uploaded to the wiki. So
you want me to do it right now? I mean, or not?
You can, but you've had a chance to have a look at it, and we've all had a chance to look at it and propose changes. So we can upload this at the end of the meeting or after the meeting. I think it's probably easier in terms of time management. So we validate the submission of the final draft to the discourse and to the agenda of the 18th Council meeting in the appropriate sections. Thank you, Alessandro.
The vote is open at line 165.
65.
Yeah.
And with that, we also have Florian with us. Welcome, Florian.
Florian Roussel.
Guys, good work so far.
Yep, we're doing the best we can. So that means we're voting on the... Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Florian. All right. So I'll just give everyone a moment longer to cast their votes. And then we'll continue with point 2.4, which is the 18th Council meeting. All right.
Point.
Yes. So let's get started with that one. We need to find chairs and minute takers for the meeting. Do we have any volunteers for meeting chair? Go ahead, Mob.
So I'm not offering myself because I will actually be traveling that day. So I will join you a bit late for the meeting, but I will be there for most of it, I think. I land like an hour before the meeting starts, but then I need to get to where I live. But my suggestion would be that you find someone, mandate them to recruit outsiders who are not running in the elections, so that you have meeting chairs and minute takers who are not up for elections. Either board members who are not standing again or people outside of the board. That would be my advice to you. But then you need someone to be mandated to find those people for you.
That's a good suggestion. I don't think I'll be able to do a lot of recruiting for that right now. Because I have to be at the Pirate Security Conference over the weekend, and then I have to focus on getting my health back. Alessandro, do you have any thoughts? Could we have someone from...
Actually, unfortunately, I would second Mab's suggestion, but the thing is, I really doubt that we can. I mean, it's even hard to appoint somebody, to find somebody to chair and take the minutes and blah blah blah. And I also think that at the end of the day, we should, alternate ourselves as we already did in the past. For instance, when you're not running, because for instance, I guess Sarah, you're running for vice chair, right?
Yeah.
Only, right?
Well, I've accepted my nomination as board member as well. But that's my main focus.
For instance, vice chair, then you will be no more running for board member. So potentially you can chair the meeting with the election of the chairperson, with the treasurer, and the board member, for instance.
Yeah, well, I prefer not chairing, honestly.
That means that, that's a good point, but you can take the minutes, for instance.
But yes, I'm more than happy to take the minutes. I'm going to check during the meeting if Marco Confalonieri from your Pirates.
Marco could potentially chair, for instance. Yes, that's good advice.
Yeah,
we should have asked yesterday. I forgot.
Yeah, well,
And,
do you think you can ask him now?
no,
Otherwise, I
I
can send a
can't.
text.
No, I can't. I mean, I could try, but the thing is that Mom is point out a good suggestion. But
we also have a suggestion from Florian.
Florian wants to talk, actually.
Yes.
Cal. Ciao, Cal. At what time?
Yeah, please. I want to ask Map if it will be help to hunt the persons for these jobs, and I will help, I suppose.
So if someone from the board is responsible for it, I can help that person to do it, but I don't want to be responsible for doing it.
Yeah, okay, so get me in there. So yeah, the proposal is for me to hunt the people for both of these jobs with the help of Map.
All right.
Okay. So
Thank you for volunteering, Florian.
Florian, where you are? Where are you? Okay, so let's see. So motion.
So the motion is for Florian to find chairs and minute takers for the council meeting.
Vabbè. Ciao,
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Alessandro. So the motion is the board appoints Florian to find, with the great help of Mob, volunteers for chairing and taking the minutes of the next council meeting. Forgive me for adjusting your text there, just correcting your spelling.
You don't have to apologize. I mean, it's a collective work. I made the mistakes and you made the good things.
Yeah. Okay, so that takes care of that point. And I think we have enough votes. So then we can move to point 2.4.2, how to organize the elections scheduled for the next meeting. And we have a motion here to create dedicated speech threads for every candidate in discourse. 10-minute breaks will be added to the council meeting's agenda before and after each position to give time for a short speech and allow for vote counting.
Yeah, so
Um,
let me
I think you need to adjust that text a little bit.
Yeah, I unfortunately this time mistakes are made by Florian.
Don't worry about it. Just
No,
you
no. I
need to
mean,
fix it.
I'm just asking the meaning of this motion. So, if I correctly understood, we propose to dedicate a thread, a written thread in discourse for every candidate.
Yeah, like we did in previous elections, where the candidate writes a short bio, and people can ask questions in the thread.
In the thread, and so we have to answer. The candidates should answer in the thread.
Yes, but during the meeting, we also allow the candidates to provide a short presentation of themselves. Okay, Mob, then Florian. Go ahead, Mob.
My suggestion is that you don't let people present themselves during the meeting, because with a lot of people for a lot of positions, it just takes time. And if you do allow people to talk about their candidacies during the meeting, they will be less inclined to actually do a proper job with their presentation beforehand. It is much better for transparency to say that they need to present in threads, because ideally the delegates are not supposed to make up their mind on who to vote for during the meeting. they are meant to discuss it with the party. So they vote on the people their party wants to see elected. And the only way for the party to be able to have a useful conversation about candidates is if they have all the information before the meeting starts.
Yes, so I'm the one who suggested the motion, and indeed I'm not suggesting that the candidates do speeches during the meeting. What I'm suggesting is that 10 minutes before we have open floor for late questions, that's all. 10 minutes after position elections, we do vote counting, and this gives time for people to go back to the speeches if they need to.
Okay, thank you, Mob and Florian. All right, so I think we need to divide this into two parts. Before the council meeting, dedicated threads, presentation threads for every candidate will be open in discourse. Delegates and members can ask questions in these threads. All right, so that's part one. And then during the meeting, so ahead of the council meeting, okay. And during the council meeting, 10 minutes are given for questions from the delegates. Go ahead, Mob.
That seems a bit weird. If you give 10 minutes for questions from the delegates, I'm assuming answers are supposed to be in those 10 minutes as well. And that means that the first delegates who gets to ask questions will also be basically able to control how much time the different candidates have. Because if you only ask questions to one candidate, they can spend all those 10 minutes replying. So if you want to have time allocated, you should probably allocate it per candidate. So that every candidate has a certain amount of time to receive and answer questions, rather than to allocate it to the delegates to ask them. But once again, I mean, I would strongly advise against this. It will make the threads useless, and it will make the whole exercise moot, in my humble opinion.
Okay, I have a suggestion. Now, Florian is put up his hand before me, so go ahead, Florian.
Yeah, so we can remove this question part, but keep like 5 minutes after the votes. So like to count the votes, so people can have a little break as well. And if they need this way, they will go back on their own to the threads if they need to.
So we change this to allocate then. So 10 minutes are allocated for vote counting.
5.
Yeah. During the council meeting, 5 minutes are allocated for vote counting. All right, I think we have something that's a bit more concise. So now the motion says, ahead of the council meeting, dedicated presentation threads for every candidate will be opened in discourse, and delegates and members can ask questions in these threads. During the council meeting, 5 minutes are allocated for vote counting for each delegate. Sorry, for each candidate. All right. And we're voting on row 182. Thank you, Florian. And
Sorry, I raised my hand.
go
5
ahead.
minutes vote counting for each vote would make more sense. But also there you have, I mean, if you're unlucky, you have 2 votes or 3 votes per position. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times basically an hour just to sit and wait for people to count votes, when they could theoretically do that while the next like you can have the multiple votes open and counted at the same time, but it's a bit up to you. And you're also restricting the people running the meeting. What happens if they need longer to count the votes?
Yeah, that's a good, very, very good point.
Yeah, we probably don't need to legislate this.
Correct.
Yeah.
Agree.
I agree with Alessandro and Mob. I think we can just remove that last line. Does anyone else have any other proposals for this particular point? I interpret the silence as a no. And with that, the voting is also complete. We're missing a vote from Carl and Jan. But we'll, thank you. We'll continue. All right. So thank you for voting. We'll move now to point 2.4.3, potential submission of a Palestine motion to the council meeting. This motion states that the board validates the submission of this text, which is linked here, to the discourse and the agenda of the 18th council meeting in the appropriate sections. Do we have any input on this? I think Florian, you were, yeah, okay, go ahead, Mob.
No, I'm happy
then
for
Florian.
Florian to speak first.
Okay, go ahead, Florian. I know you were involved a lot with this.
Yeah, so the result is I took ownership of this because the Italian delegate who wanted to coordinate an effort, a collective effort from PPEU members on it, didn't provide. So I stepped up. I took the text of the Greeks because they are the ones who initially filed for a resolution. I took it, I discussed it a bit with Marketa and her team, and it resulted in this document. So hopefully it's not empty too much, but it's not too like activist toned for members to be completely up in arms about it. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is it feels like a great compromise, and down the line the council will do whatever it pleases with it. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, Florian. Mob, you wanted to say something.
Well, so right now, if you submit a text like that, that would just mean that you vote on both, like, and you could approve or dismiss both. But the way you phrase the motion, you haven't said that this is intended to replace the Greek motion. So if you want to replace the Greek motion, you would phrase it like the following that I'm just put as option B. That clarifies that it's a counter proposal, which means that you can't have both of them, and that it's a counter proposal to point 7a, which is the Greek motion. So if you want to replace the Greek proposal with this, you should phrase your motion like option B now in the pad.
All right, thank you, Mob. Florian, go ahead.
So in the motion, I'm very blurry about where to put it in the agenda because it could go under the original Palestine motion. So it's like this is internal tinkering, and we can see after. I just want to know if the board is comfortable with this being put up and coming from the board.
So
Yeah, so I'm basically saying to stick with my motion because where to put it and how to put it is up to us anyway.
So maybe we should write a third option here. Oh. Option C. So so the board validates the submission of this text.
Before you use that phrase, that doesn't mean anything. There's no such thing as board validating texts. Either the board submits the text or puts forward. You can't validate a submission because who submitted it?
Okay. So the board submits this text to the discourse and puts it forward as a counter proposal on point 7a on the agenda of the council meeting.
Sorry.
All right, take a look at all three options there. Now they're option C is just a merging of the other two.
What's the difference between B and C?
There's no difference. If you approve B, it will end up on discourse anyways. It's just that you explicitly say that it should be on discourse. But other than that, there's no difference between B and C. But what I think Florian wanted to discuss what actually, if you're happy with the content, and then after that, go to how should it be phrased in the motion, if I understood his comments correctly.
So
yes. Wait, my point is that I want to check with you if this can be sent on behalf of the board, and I left it very blurry in the motion how to send it and submit it to the agenda in the agenda, because we can do whatever we want and we can even discuss it later.
Okay. So may I say something before leaving you the chair?
Absolutely.
So, as far as I understood, there is this famous Greek proposal, right? The Greek proposal comes from Greek pirates. There is, I mean, we cannot change or they could change it. It's their proposal, not ours proposal. So here on the table, there is another counter proposal that we would like to put on the table at the next council meeting. Am I understood? Am I correct? I mean, is this right?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, I got the point. Thanks. Mom.
No, never mind. Skip me.
Okay. All right. Either way, we need to decide on. Oh, sorry. We need to decide on which one to use here.
No, I think what you first need to do is check with everyone if they're happy with the text or if they want to change anything in the text before you submit it. And then you can discuss which one of the phrasings you should use. But the first thing you need to check is that everyone actually feels comfortable with the board proposing the content of that document.
All right. So I think we might as well give everyone a moment to take a look at it if you haven't already. Now, I assume you've taken a look at it, but I know it's not very long. And I'd like to know if you have any thoughts or if you feel uncomfortable with it in any way. Let's start with Alessandro.
Thanks, Sarah. I would like to say that I will abstain because not because the proposal is good or bad, or because I haven't read it, but because I mean, I don't urge the sense that the board is proposing a counter proposal on the Greek proposal. So I will abstain whatever the proposal is. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Alessandro. Florian?
Yeah, so if I can jump on that, the proposal is here to make sure that the council has something new to look at, because else this will keep dragging on indefinitely. So it's an attempt to put it to rest, basically.
Alessandro?
Yeah, that was precisely. I mean, I appreciate the good intent, but that was precisely what I would like to avoid. Meaning that at last council meeting in Prague, we said, no, listen, this proposal. Sorry, not us. I mean, the council decided to reject the proposal and to say and to approve the Marco Confalonieri motion. That was basically, let's rethink about it collectively, and then we will, because it's and then what we end up that nobody rethought on anything, and now we say, okay, as a board we propose something, so at least the council has a couple of eggs to cook, right? This means if the members are not interested, their fault. Shame on them. That's that's what I would like to say. Abstaining, of course.
All right, first Florian, then Mob.
Yeah, so I get the good intents point, but this thing is vetted by Marketa. The board doesn't have to ask anything from the council before publishing statements. So basically what would happen is that if the council still decide to postpone it, the next board could decide to release this statement, effectively forcing the hand of the members of the PPEU, one way or the other. But this is an improvement because it's vetted by Marketa. So that's already far more than what was achieved by the council. And I kind of refuse to see the council struggle again in the same way I did in the two previous council meetings.
Sorry about that. Go ahead, Mob.
Yes, so I wanted to point out that the Greek text was not rejected. There was never a vote on the Greek text. There was only a vote to postpone discussions. And the postponement had nothing to do with rejecting the text, but it says that that it should allow PPEU members to reach a broad consensus on a commonly shaped position. Now, that meant that the purpose was to reach a broad consensus on a commonly shaped position. Now, who should make sure that that happens? Well, the statutes says that the board shall ensure communication and coordination between European Pirate Party members. So if the purpose with the postponement was to ensure a common position, my interpretation of the statutes is that it would be up to the board to facilitate the creation of that common position. You can't ask the members to coordinate among themselves for the next council meeting. That is clearly under Article 16.5, the role of the board. But that's my outside perspective as a non-board member.
Go ahead, Alessandro.
Thanks, Mab, for your clarification. Excellent point. But still, the problem remains. I mean, we haven't facilitated anything. We just create a new emotion ourselves based on whatever it does. I mean, what we did yesterday, for instance, regarding the meeting that we had yesterday, that was a good attempt. Unfortunately, there were a few people attending, but that was a good intention to coordinate something, right? How, in my perspective, humble perspective, we can coordinate something, picking up people, taking up meetings, or whatsoever, open a discussion, right? So, I mean, as you see, I'm not against but I'm not in favor as well. So that's why I will abstain. Thank you.
Mob? Yeah, Mob. Sorry. Go ahead, Mob. You're muted.
No, I think everyone has said what they want to say on this. I think the board benefits from just voting on what you want to do.
And I recommend that we use proposal motion motion text B.
Yeah, I also I prefer the motion B.
Okay, then we do that. Anyone else have a preference? Otherwise, I'm going to remove that and leave option B on the table. I interpret the silence as agreement. So we're now voting on row 192. All right. Jan, if you please. All right. So that means that point is completed. And we'll move to 2.5, time and place for the next board meeting. The next board meeting, yes, go ahead, Alessandro.
Yeah, despite the great intention, I don't think that this is a good. I mean, how can we schedule the next board meeting? We are not the next board. So the next board, when elected, the first thing first will set up the first meeting. As simple as that.
Carl?
We should schedule the next board meeting, even if we schedule it for 10 minutes after the council meeting.
I agree with Carl. I think it's very helpful to have some structure for the next board meeting. This is also very common practice in both, well, the Nordic countries and other parts of Europe and other parts of the world. But go ahead, Alessandro.
I totally respect all the other countries in the world, but the thing is, how can you schedule? Imagine that you're basically you're scheduling my time without asking me if I am in or not, right? So you schedule the time even 10 minutes after the next council meeting, and I'm not there. So it feels like I mean, so nonsense, right? So.
All right. Thank you for your feedback there. Mob, go ahead. And then Florian after Mob.
Yeah, I think you have to consider what it means for you to decide on the next board meeting. Basically, you take that decision, but the meeting happens after it's been called. And that is up to the chair to call it. But of course, if the previous board had scheduled it, the chair would have to have a reason to reschedule it. But the benefit of already now setting a date is that the people running for the board can put it in their calendar that the most likely scenario is that this is the point when the board meeting will happen, so that they don't book something else on that slot. And then if the next board don't want to have it at that point, the chair can just call it at any other time. As is with the meetings you decide now. You don't, if you decide to have a meeting at the next point, the chair still have the mandate under Article 18.1 to just call it earlier or whatever. But it's very helpful for everyone to schedule ahead.
All right. Thank you, Mob. Sorry. Thank you, Mob. Florian.
Yeah, I want to just go ahead and suggest a time, like maybe a Sunday.
Mm.
So like the following Sunday, the 2nd of March, maybe.
Yep. I would also like to have a different date than the 6th. I'm extremely flexible, but on that date, I will be on my way back to Sweden from my meetings with the Icelandic pirates.
Yeah, so I'm suggesting
So any other day.
Yeah, I'm suggesting the second, like for 15 minutes. The second.
2nd of March. Yep.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay, and then we can vote on row 201. All right. Now we're almost at the point where Alessandro needs to go. So since we don't have any other any AOB points, I think we can have that 3.1 report on the needs assessment form. And this form is in its final draft stage. And if anyone has any thoughts about it, now is the time. Florian, do you want to say a few words?
Nothing much, it's just for your eyes, so you can have a look, and it will be actioned within the next board for sure, but not yet. So yeah.
Yeah, I would just adjust some really editorial stuff, like some spelling issues, double presence of text and things like that. But that's sort of proofreading rather than actually changing any content. Does anyone else have any thoughts? No? Okay. Yes, go ahead, Alessandro.
Thanks. I would like to say that I don't have any thoughts specifically regarding the form. I just would like to say that this is a great initiative. I second it very, very much. So thank you and great job.
Thank you, Alessandro. And thank you, Florian. Florian, I'm happy to just go through and proofread the text with you. I don't think we need to do that during the meeting.
No, yeah, that would be great, but yeah, that's later time, no problem.
All right, I think that means we're done. And that the meeting ends on the dot at 7:30. Thank you everyone for attending.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for chairing the meeting, even if you're a bit sick.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks a lot. Your effort is always widely and
to my knees again. All the times when I could beg you, please, in vain. All the times when I felt insecure for you, and I leave my burdens at the door. But I'm on the outside.